Have you ever looked straight into the mirror and asked yourself, why am I smart, kind, genuine, yet still the one left behind? Why is it that she, the woman who looked like a goddess, the one you treated like treasure, could turn cold and walk away only to crash and burn over and over again with men who weren't even half of what you are? Sounds familiar, doesn't it? This story isn't just yours. It's the silent tragedy shared by millions of men in today's world. A rigged game where good men lose their magnetism and truth itself is set on fire the very moment a woman becomes beautiful. You thought you were in love with a real person. In fact, you were in love with an illusion built on lies whispered into her ears by hundreds of men, each one hoping to trade a compliment, a smile, or a night in bed for her attention. The brutal truth is, the world never gave her the chance to grow emotionally, and the world never gave you the chance to simply be yourself. If you still have the courage, stay, because what I'm about to reveal will tear apart the illusion once and for all. And once you've seen the truth, you will never love the same way again. It all starts early. She's only 13, maybe 14. Yesterday, she was just another ordinary girl struggling with math homework, trying to find her place in her little social circle. But then overnight, her body changes, and suddenly, the world of men explodes around her. The stares of grown men, the strange silence from male teachers, the offhand compliments from her friend's father. She is still a child, but in her hands now lies the power of a queen. The problem: she has no wisdom to wield that power. And from that very moment, truth dies. Every man around her, classmates, future colleagues, lovers, learns the same lesson quickly. Telling the truth is suicide. Saying what she wants to hear is the only way to survive. Picture this: if she asks, "Am I too selfish?" you know damn well that the honest answer will end everything. But if you say, "No, you're wonderful just the way you are," you get to stay in the game. That's what I call the honesty paradox. The very thing she needs most, honesty, is also the thing no one dares to give her. The result: she grows up in a world where feedback isn't feedback at all, but just strategy. It's like living in a hall of mirrors where every reflection is warped by flattery. In psychology, there's a concept called intermittent reinforcement, the most addictive form of conditioning ever discovered. That's exactly what happens to her. Every once in a while, she gets criticized, but 99% of the time, it's validation, praise, indulgence. Her brain learns to crave approval the way an addict craves a drug. So when someone dares to tell her the truth, she doesn't see it as help, she sees it as betrayal. And that makes truth die even deeper. Now you understand why a woman with an MBA, a brilliant career, flawless presentations can be utterly blind when it comes to love. At work, she can't escape reality. The balance sheet doesn't flatter. But in love, everything is just a game played by men who want to win her over. She builds her entire romantic strategy on rotten foundations: false information, fake feedback, counterfeit affection. And there can only be one result: failure repeated over and over again. You've seen this picture before, haven't you? A beautiful woman in a high-end bar angrily saying, "I don't get it. Why do I always end up with terrible men?" What she doesn't realize is that she's never been taught how to truly understand men. She's never been forced to face the natural consequences of her own behavior. But don't get me wrong, this isn't an excuse. It's a brutal truth. And it's also a lesson for you, for men who think, if I'm just good, kind, giving, she will love me. No, you're simply playing the same game of deception, adding yet another broken mirror to keep her trapped in illusion. You thought you were in love with an angel, but in reality, you were helping sustain the tragedy of a child who never grew up emotionally. And then you ask yourself, if everything is this fake, if the entire system is rigged, what should men do? Accept the game or burn it down. Have you ever noticed how the most beautiful women are often shocked when men leave them? In their minds, beauty is a permanent passport, and to some extent, society has conditioned them to believe that. But the reality is the opposite. It's that very beauty and the web of lies surrounding it that stripped away their chance to ever learn the brutal truths about love. This isn't just a personal tragedy, it's a social mechanism. From the moment she was 14, men showered her with attention, compliments, gifts, all with one hidden goal: to capture her heart, or at the very least her body, for a night. And when thousands of men pursue the same goal, they create an ecosystem of deception, a world where truth doesn't stand a chance. Men in this system aren't always bad. They're simply acting on instinct. As Darwin once wrote, "In the struggle for existence, those who adapt best survive." Here, adaptation isn't about honesty, it's about learning how to say what she wants to hear. Try being direct. "You're being selfish. You need to change." What happens? You're cut off instantly. But the man who steps in after you, smiling and whispering, "No, you're perfect, just the way you are," gets rewarded. It's the same dynamic as a classroom where the teacher only rewards the right answer, not the truthful one. Eventually, every student learns to parrot back what the teacher likes instead of searching for reality. That's the exact classroom she grows up in, one where every student cheats for points. And here's the danger when deception is constant. It morphs into truth in the receiver's mind. Freud once said, "An illusion repeated often enough becomes reality in the psyche." So when she believes that men must always pay, that she's always right in every argument, that beauty alone is enough to keep a man forever, that belief becomes the very trap that drags her down. Picture this: an incompetent, arrogant boss flattered endlessly by terrified employees who only want to keep their jobs. Eventually, that boss truly believes he's a genius, even as the company collapses. That is precisely the situation of overly beautiful women power without wisdom, because wisdom requires failure to grow, and failure is the one thing they've never been forced to face. And here's where men find themselves in a twisted role, not just victims of the illusion, but accomplices to it. Every time we stay silent, every time we smile and let it slide, every time we text, "You're perfect," knowing damn well it's a lie, we're laying another brick in the wall that separates her from reality. And then we sit back and complain. Why doesn't she understand me? Why does she always choose the wrong men? Why doesn't she ever change? The painful answer: because we and millions of other men never gave her the chance to change. This is why I call it the male complicity. We hate it, we resent it, but we don't dare break it. Because we're afraid of losing her attention, her touch, her body. So we sell truth cheap and buy validation at a high price. And when it all burns down, we blame her, when in fact, we should have blamed ourselves first. Here's the hard truth. If men aren't brave enough to speak truth, women will never learn it. And if women never learn truth, men will remain trapped in an endless loop of disappointment and bitterness. So the question is, do you dare to break this complicity? Do you dare to stand tall? Look her in the eye and speak the words she doesn't want to hear but needs to. If not, then you're simply repeating the same tragedy that society has been writing for thousands of years. And this tragedy isn't done yet. There's a deeper layer, a harsher social cycle you're about to see. Take a step back from the personal story. This isn't just a game between one man and one woman. This is an entire social system built on a single principle. Those who possess beauty get privilege, and those who crave beauty must pay the price. From advertising media, social platforms, all the way to dating apps, everything is engineered to magnify the power of beauty. Instagram turns women into idols. TikTok transforms ordinary gestures into viral content simply because of a pretty face. And men, they stand outside competing for attention, leaving comments like endless flattery. Remember this, the sexual marketplace runs just like the economic marketplace. When an asset is rare and highly desired, its value gets inflated. Beauty is that asset. And just like any economic bubble, this inflation isn't sustainable, but while it lasts, it distorts the entire structure of reality. This is where society itself becomes complicit. Magazines preach, a beautiful woman is always right. Movies insist the hot girl will end up with the good man. Pop culture programs. Men, if you want love, you must pay, prove, flatter. And so millions of men are trained from boyhood to enter the game already rigged against them. See the trap. Men grow up in a culture where strength, intelligence, integrity, all are placed beneath the smile of a beautiful woman. Instead of building inner value, they chase approval, validation, and desperate attempts to prove themselves. That's how the good guy is born, a man who looks kind on the surface but invisible in her eyes, because he lost his core masculine energy. In evolutionary psychology, there's a concept called the scarcity effect. Humans overvalue whatever seems rare. Men believe beautiful women are scarce, so they fight over them at any cost. But the true scarcity isn't beautiful women. The true scarcity is men with backbone, men with conviction, men who dare to stand in truth. Those men are nearly extinct, and ironically, they are the ones women find most irresistible. But instead of cultivating that backbone, society trains a generation of men to fear truth. They fear losing female approval. Just like employees in a tyrannical company, they stop offering real feedback, bow their heads, and clap along. They compromise with lies to keep their place, even while knowing it's wrong. The irony is that this compromise doesn't just break women, it kills men. Because when you live as a beggar for affection, you lose the primal energy of manhood, the energy of the builder, not the pleader. You stop being the warrior who forges his path, and you become the slave to a woman's shifting moods. In fact, sociological studies show this clearly. Men who obsess over pleasing often experience higher stress, more insecurity, and even higher rates of depression. Deep down, they know they are betraying themselves, trading honor for approval in a game built on illusions. And that's why you feel empty. The more you love, the more you lose yourself. The more you give, the less you feel you have. Because you're not living as a man anymore, you're living as a side character in someone else's movie. Wake up. The truth is, society will never rewrite this game for you. Ads will keep glorifying beauty. Social media will keep rewarding superficiality. Pop culture will keep telling you to buy love with money and compliments. But you can change yourself. And that's the only exit to rebuild yourself into a man who doesn't need approval to exist. But how? How do you step out of the spiral, escape the slavery of a system that has swallowed millions of men whole? The answer lies in the path of solitude, discipline, and inner rebuilding, the path I will lead you into next. This is where most men give up, when they finally see that the game is real, when they realize society is rigged by beauty and lies. They either sink into bitterness or turn into men who hate women. But both paths are dead ends. Bitterness doesn't make you stronger, and hate only twists you into a broken version of yourself. The only path left is the path of rebuilding, a path no one else can walk for you. That journey begins with solitude. Solitude isn't your enemy. It's the furnace where steel is forged, the silence where the noise of society dies out, and you're forced to face yourself. Modern men fear solitude because it exposes the emptiness inside, weakness, lack of discipline, dependence on validation. But only in that silence can you hear the voice of your true self. Nietzsche once said, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." That why cannot come from women, from society, or from applause. It must come from within you, from principle, from vision, from honor. Second, the journey demands discipline. Without discipline, every theory is worthless. Discipline of the body, because a strong body is the foundation of a strong will. Discipline of habit, because consistency protects you when emotions shake. Discipline of the mind, by stepping into challenges instead of running from them. A man without discipline is just a grown child, easily manipulated, easily broken. And above all, discipline in self-respect. You must learn to say no, no to lies, no to playing the approval game, no even to your own habit of begging for validation. A man can lose everything, but if he keeps his self-respect, he still has his essence. Lose that, and every success outside is just an empty shell. That's where presence is born, the aura that makes others respect you even when you say nothing. Presence doesn't come from fancy suits or expensive cars. It comes from eyes that know who they are, from a posture that refuses to bow, from a voice that doesn't tremble when speaking hard truths. And here's the paradox. It's when you no longer need women to validate you that women are drawn to you. It's when you stop begging for approval that society respects you. Because humans by instinct are pulled toward strength, not the strength of domination, but the strength of sovereignty. Never forget, true power is not controlling others, it's controlling yourself. The man who masters himself cannot be dragged into manipulation. He enters the game, but the game does not define him. He can love a beautiful woman, but never lose his soul in her beauty. That is the ultimate freedom of man. Freedom from craving, freedom from flattery, freedom from being shaken by someone else's storms. And when you reach this point, everything changes. You no longer ask, "How can I make her love me?" Instead you ask, "Is the man I'm becoming worthy of my own respect?" That's the only question that matters. And if you have the courage to live by it, it will set you free from every illusion society has built around you. But the journey doesn't end here. Rebuilding yourself isn't only about saving your own soul, it's about becoming a signal fire for other men who are still lost in the dark. And that leads us to the final message, the emotional payoff I'll give you in the last part. You've heard enough hard truths. You've seen how beautiful women are swallowed by illusions, how society built a stage of lies, how men became accomplices and paid with their strength. But now the real question is this: what will you do with this truth? It hurts, I know, because to wake up you must admit that for years you lived as a beggar. You must confess that you played along, that you sacrificed your honor just to be validated. But that very pain is the fire that burns away the old skin, revealing the man you were always meant to be. A strong man is not one who never fails. A strong man is the one who looks truth in the eye, swallows it whole, and rises from the ashes. You don't need pity. You don't need saving arms. You need the courage to save yourself. And when you do, you shift the balance of the game. You are no longer a side character in the story of a beautiful woman. You become the author of your own life. Your presence forces others to adjust to you. And the men around you, your brothers still wandering in the dark, will see your fire and realize they too can rise. That's why this isn't some cheap call to like and subscribe. This is a declaration. If you've awakened, help another man awaken. Share this not as a fan, but as a brother in arms. Because the world doesn't need more good guys begging for love. The world needs warriors who love with honor, who live with principle, and who die with their heads held high. If you've stayed with me until now, it means you're ready. So rise. Don't just survive. Become the kind of man even truth itself has to respect.